Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Acupuncture's My Life. Now, today, I'd like to go over, and this is simply because I've run into this a lot, and it's not just a patient thing, but just colleagues, associates, many individuals that I've known, but then as well as patients. I've referred to cancer specialists because of certain symptoms in which they would present with. And I figured today I wanted to discuss certain symptoms of lymphoma that you shouldn't take lightly. And some individuals would take these symptoms lightly and it'll progress over time. Whereas, it's, put it to you this way safely, it's difficult to resolve. Okay? So I'm doing this podcast to sort of give you a heads up as to what you may want to look out for so that you begin to question this with your physician as well as your acupuncturist. Because most types of cancer usually don't present with obvious symptoms right away. And even with the same with lymphoma, usually doesn't present with obvious symptoms right away. But it's a type of cancer that becomes more aggressive within, let's say, 4 to 10 years. And the symptoms of lymphoma, they tend to vary within, each individual. And this is why I say see an acupuncturist, because we understand this, because no one's constitution is the same as the next. So with that being said, not everyone experiences the same symptoms. Now, there are quite a few symptoms of lymphoma that are sort of like vague. They're not that obvious. So if you're experiencing any of the symptoms that I'm going to discuss, does not mean that you have lymphoma. Doesn't necessarily mean. But it should ring some type of alarm to say, I want to sit with my physician and discuss these symptoms that I'm going through, possibly have tests run. I also want to sit with an acupuncturist. This is what you should say to yourself. But one of the more obvious symptoms of lymphoma are swollen lymph nodes. Okay? Now, lymphoma, of course, affects the lymphocytes within us. And what are lymphocytes? They're special types of, let's say, white blood cells that are produced by your bone marrow, as well as your lymph nodes. So when you become infected or come down with an infection, your lymph glands tend to either recruit or produce, more so recruit immune cells to fight off this infection. And that's why your lymph nodes tend to swell up and feel tender. And you'd experience this like whenever you're coming down, let's say with the flu or the common cold, any type of infection, whether it's viral or bacterial. Okay? Now, if you were to have lymphoma, your lymph nodes would sort of like fill up with these cancer cells as well as your spleen. And when these lymph nodes swell, they're usually, not painful. You can palpate them and you'll notice they're larger than usual. And some would come into the clinic and ask, doc, what's going on here? But they're usually not as painful. Now, as let's say, compared to other types of infections. Now, another symptom you can experience is like chills or even fever. Now, many of you are aware that fever is a sign that, your immune system is ramped up. Relative to the fact that you've caught some type of infection and it's attempting to fight it off. Lymphoma being that type of infection. So if you notice that, you're getting fevers, you're experiencing fevers, and you have no clue what the heck is going on, you're not only going to sit with your local acupuncturist, but you're going to contact your physician as well. There are some individuals who may have lymphoma and experience like serious night sweats. And they're waking up as if they slept in a puddle all night. Now, night sweats can be due to a variation of things, especially in women, hormonal changes tied to menopause, or even an autoimmune disorder. But you know what? If you had lymphoma, you can also experience night sweats as well. Because this type of symptom, indicates that your body's struggling to regulate body temperature. These are reasons why, I recommend individuals see an acupuncturist for regular wellness visits. And that doesn't mean every week, doesn't mean every 2 weeks. It can vary based on what's going on with you, how your acupuncturist has assessed you. Wellness visits are extremely important. It's just as important as your annual visit with your physician. As I've spoken of as a symptom with other types of cancers, the same holds for lymphoma. It's loss of appetite. If you find yourself not feeling hungry or you feel satiated really quick, this can be a sign of lymphoma. I've come across individuals that, would develop abdominal pain, they would feel nauseous, there would be bouts with vomiting. You see, loss of appetite in the case of lymphoma gears more toward the spleen, because your spleen would become enlarged with cancerous lymphocytes. And that tends, once that happens, it presses on your stomach and it makes you feel uncomfortable. And in many cases, the last thing you want to do is eat, because it exacerbates this discomfort. Now, another symptom in which you can experience is extreme, persistent fatigue. Like you just really feel like super exhausted, fatigued all the time. That's another possible sign lymphoma. It can be a symptom of lymphoma. Why? Because like this fatigue, this level of exhaustion would be related to anemia, because a person, there will be a decrease in the production of red blood cells, which carry, of course, oxygen throughout the body, because of the overproduction of cancerous lymphocytes. So there's little room for the bone marrow to produce a sufficient amount of red blood cells. Sitting with your physician, as well as an acupuncturist, I mean, your questions would be answered relative to this. I mean, we pick it up right away. You know, another sign is like, do you bruise really easy? Like, you just happen to bump your hand against the counter, you stumped your toe, or you bumped your knee against, I don't know, the door, and you're bruising, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Again, another sign that your body is not, you're not producing enough platelets. You're not, this is lack of production of healthy cells. Again, you're not producing enough platelets. It's another sign of lymphoma. You ever experience, a person can experience, let's say, shortness of breath, pressure of the chest, persistent coughing. There are cases where lymphomas tend to start in the thymus gland, which is in your chest. And it's an important part of your immune system. And you see, when it begins, the infection causes it to swell up. It'll press against your windpipe. That can cause you to cough, feel pressure in your chest, or some type of chest pain. I'll say this, and I've said this quite often in the past. Anytime you experience trouble breathing, the first thing you want to do is seek emergency care. After that, you'll see your local acupuncturist or contact Acupuncture My Life, as well as see a physician. Another potential symptom is losing weight, and you just don't understand like what's happening. And I've discussed symptoms of many different types of cancers, and this is, here we go again. Because you see, cancer cells use up a lot of energy, so it saps up your calories. Okay? So that's another sign. Itchy skin can be another. Just out of nowhere, your feet, your hands, your legs just start feeling like itchy, like what the heck is going on? It can be related to lymphoma. So these are just some symptoms to just try and be aware of. And it's food for thought. This is why, seeing an acupuncturist on a regular basis for regular wellness visits, you can't go wrong. You really can't. And this is why I say you must make acupuncture a part of your life. Because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?